Hello everybody, welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to be talking about filter FM, which is a kind of FM using filters. It's a trick I have learned a few years ago, but I was never really able to get cool sounds with it. And now I found a way to actually apply it and kind of explain it well. And let's get right into it. Alright, so here we have the sound that we're going to be deconstructing. You can hear a very nice aggressive sound, and it's just coming from Serum. You can see we have this LFO tool here, we have an EQ to clean it up, and we have this delay here, which for now we're going to turn off so we can nicely listen to it. Let me quickly turn this down a little bit, and let's open up the patch and actually see what's going on. So you can see there's a few things here. Of course, we have the setup that I've been exploring a lot lately, with the oscillators turned their pitch tracking off and then manually tuning them to the right key. And we have this all-pass filter here, and we have an EQ, a distortion to kind of get that gritty, very resonant sound in there. And finally, we have some stereo winding. But the main portion of the sound is actually coming from here. Now I'm going to click on the analyze here and show you the phases. We're using an all-pass filter here, and we're using it in a very weird way. As you can see, we have set up a modulation, a very strong modulation on this thing here, and we're using a very fast LFO. Now the frequency here is kind of important. This is the frequency for a G1 key. So if I play G1, it will oscillate at 49 megahertz or 49 hertz, which is of course a sub-bass in G. Now this is important because of what a all-pass or what filter FM actually does. If you know what normal FM does, it stands for frequency modulation, but that is kind of a weird name because it's not actually modulating the frequency, it's actually modulating the phase of the sound. That's because that's easier to program and achieves the same thing. So basically what it's doing, it's really quickly changing this knob here. Of course it's a little bit different, it's a little bit of a different algorithm, and this knob is not really suited for that. But that's basically what FM is doing. You're taking a waveform, in this case we're using a triangle wave here, and you're modulating the phase. Now filters also work with phase. The phase distortion that a filter does is not really how it works, it's more of a side effect of what it does. And you can see here with the phases, what this table is showing you is basically what happens to the phase when it goes through the filter. So you can see here the phase gets delayed, and here it gets delayed so much that it cycles back and goes to basically the next cycle. So you would see if you start out here at 180 degrees of phase, that's this line, and this particular frequency gets turned backwards, and this particular frequency goes so far backwards that it goes forwards again. And through some clever mathematics they can compensate for that. But basically the phase gets shifted all over the place, especially with this all-pass filter. An all-pass filter is special because it doesn't change the harm or the spectrum. The way it shows up on this chart here is a little bit deceiving because it doesn't actually add to the spectrum, but it does contribute to or it does introduce a lot of phase distortion or phase shift in different frequencies, I should say. So we can use this basically as an FM source. So instead of just normal FM, we can use this filter and achieve basically the same effect. Now, of course, there is a few differences. For example, you can use different filters to get different effects. If we click here, you can see this has a different phase response. And you can hear that too. And for example, we can use maybe, let's say, a phaser here. It's just a little bit of a cleaner response. As you can see, there's less going on there. But for this one we used the all-pass filter, and that sounded really cool. Now the source sound doesn't really matter. What actually is this source sound? Let's open it up. You can see that it's a saw wave with its phases all randomized. So we get random phases for each frequency. That, together with the way the all-pass filter works, generates this tone. So let's turn this off here. Get that tone out of that. So that's what Filter Freak FM does. You can hear this is just a saw wave being played and kind of plucky. And this messes with the phases to get that grainy, or not grainy, that nice texture we have here. I don't really know how to describe this texture. It's almost a little bit metallic, a little bit grainy. It's a very hard to explain texture which you get. So then we add our EQ here. And of course this is all done with the notes, all the modulation. We have modulation on resonance, which helps to dial in the tone. We have this dampening, which kind of gets rid of or kind of messes with the phases in this way, as you can see. And there's a different way we mess with phases just to get different tones each time. And finally, of course, this frequency here that goes through, you really get that resonance. And then we distort all of that. And finally, with some stereo width, you have this nice metallic sound. Now, this is really cool, but where the real power of Filter FM comes in is that you can use it anywhere. And to show an example, I have actually set up another LFO tool here with a sine wave, which is also playing at around 49 Hertz. Now, I couldn't get the exact number right, but this is close enough for this. And again, we're using it to modulate the cutoff, and the cutoff is an all-pass filter. These settings are a little bit tamer, as you can see. This is not really that intense of a filter. And if we turn it on, it does add a little bit to the sound. You can hear the high end is kind of changing a little bit. So you can have multiple of these anywhere in your chain. So if you're doing sound designing and you want a little bit more FM to your sound, but you are doing some crazy stuff, for example, with delays and those kind of things, where you're reconstructing maybe the waveform in a certain way and changing the source sound doesn't really do it for you, you can always try to slap on a filter with modulation capabilities and just turning up the modulation to a certain extent. You could even do this in with auto filter, I believe. This has, as you can see, an amount and a range. Now this doesn't go up high enough actually, so that would be a bit hard. So yeah, you can do it with other filter plugins. There are a lot of plugins that actually go beyond this. The reason why it won't work with autofilter because it's just too slow. It's not in the audible range, and therefore isn't FM. Because of course FM is done with audible, with signals in the audible range, like let's say 30 Hertz and above. Now that's basically what I wanted to talk to you about. I do have another sound that also uses Filter FM. As you can see, this LFO tool is also set up with Filter FM here, and this is without it. It's a nice percussive sound we were working on stream. And then with Filter FM, it really changes the sounds and make it really, really cool. So those are just a few examples of Filter FM I can think of, and I hope this is interesting for you, these kind of more specific sound design tricks, and I hope you can apply them and you can mess around with them a little bit. And this is definitely something which is really, really powerful and can make any sound better. Well, not better, but different at least. And maybe you can use this when you have a sound that doesn't really work. You can try to just slap on an LFO tool, set the right frequency, and find a cool filter, and that might work for you. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. If you have any sound design requests or you have suggestions for future videos, feel free to let me know in the comments. I really do read all of them, and it's really helpful for me to kind of orient what you guys like and what you guys want to see from me. And if you like this video, please leave a like. That also indicates that you enjoyed this video and that I should do more of this content. And if you're new here, subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.